Damn it, Jim, I'm a podcaster, not a doctor, and before I make any more Leonard Bones McCoy jokes, which you'll see ties in, I'm going to hand it over to Greg.
The Shed House, everybody's putting us on. Okay, how's that for a segue?
Right, no, nice. We did not do drugs before the show, it's just us.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here in the studio.
Well, Steve, Steve.
It's me again. Sorry, guys, I'm back. But we have a very special guest today. Paul Carpenter's with us, and Paul played guitar for the Boyd McCoy Band way back when we were just from knee-high to a grasshopper.
And I was a nail. No, I'm right.
Sadly, our second guest, Tony Scuderi, who was also in the Boyd McCoy Band and played with Paul, Tony is sick, so sadly he won't be with us today. He's home in bed. And he's very sorry he couldn't be with us today.
He may get sicker after he listens to it.
I know, right? Maybe all of the...
I had sort of good penguin at a bar joke. I'll keep quiet, otherwise everybody here will get sick.
We want you to get better, Tony. Don't even listen to us.
But I keep saying, too, the one thing I'll interrupt about is, like, okay, when I hear Boyd McCoy, I have to keep catching it because my good friend Nick Young, who's been on, said the Boyd Parker ambush. So I'll stop calling him Boyd McCoy, and I'll call you Boyd Parker.
So who wants to start? Let's get things going with Paul here, since he's our guest. Is that okay, guys?
Yeah.
And we'll ask a few questions, and Paul, you can chime in. Let's go all the way back to how you got started playing guitar, even way before Boyd, obviously. So, what was your inspiration? How did you get interested in playing guitar?
Yeah, go back to the Kingston Trio era.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
So I forgot. Got my first guitar maybe when I was 12, okay? And my parents sent me down. I grew up in Geneva.
Okay.
So, in Geneva, and I graduated from Geneva High School, and then I came to Rochester. Mm-hmm. My parents sent me for some guitar lessons. I did 2 lessons of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and I was done.
One of my favorites.
I just learned, I don't know music. I don't know music. I don't know, I don't know scales or anything, but I can just hear the chords. Well, I can just play them.
I heard Paul last night with his new band, and we'll get into that later. And let me tell you something. Paul was playing the 12-string Rickenbacker, and I thought I was listening to Jim McGuinn from the Byrds. For not knowing any music, Paul, you did a great job. I was very impressed.
That's a talent in itself, though, having a great year. I mean, that's
I will say, Geneva, my good friend David J. Cuesta, one of the poet bard of Geneva, and you have like the most hidden church of any town. He had his wedding there, and he's a Beach Boys fan. He wanted to play Beach Boys. The reception was at the golf club. None of us could find the church. I mean, none of us.
Yeah.
Where, downtown? Where?
Just, okay, when you get off, you go by the Wonder Bread thing, and you go downtown Geneva.
Yeah.
Somewhere around. None of us could find the church for the wedding.
Okay.
None of us. It was like a comedy, and we missed the organ playing "Don't Worry, Baby" for the Beach Boys. We did the Beach Boys, And then I got to the country club, and it's like right by the manor there, and I get up there, and he's like, "I'm sorry, man, I couldn't find the place."
Yeah.
I think, oh, you and about every other guest.
It's Wilmer and the Dukes country out there in Geneva.
That's right. Yeah, my dad was a printer. He did all the printing for Wilmer.
Is that right?
Yeah. Club 86, that was a big place.
Club 86, which is still there. They still have music there.
Yeah. And then I learned to play 5-string bluegrass banjo.
Okay.
Finger picking, it's a style. And my son's a fabulous guitar, and he cannot figure it out.
Is that right?
How to do the 3 finger picking.
Now, what were like sort of the makes and models of that time that were like affordable, just for like when you bought a guitar?
When I bought a guitar, I had a good Gibson acoustic when I was small. I had a lot of Gibsons, and matter of fact, I bought at the House of Guitars probably in early 70s. I bought a 1960 .NET 335 for $500.
Wow.
My son has it.
Okay.
It's worth $40,000.
Is it really?
It's worth
wow.
I just
it's one of the
found
most sought after guitars in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's his retirement account?
It is retirement
I
account.
just found a YouTube channel. It's about a music store owner. He's talking about how some woman came in, and she's got this old guitar. She was like her dad's or grandfather's, and she just wants to sell it. Can I get like $200? And he looks at it and goes, this thing's like worth a heck of a lot more. So now he's honest. Sends it down to another shop. It's probably worth at least $10,000.
Wow.
Now this guy's shady. He tells her that, oh yeah, I paid $100 for it. Like what? Well, the trick was he knew it was so expensive. If he would have taken $200, she would have been maybe suspicious right off the bat, gotten it appraised. It's like, oh no, I'll take it off your hands. So always be aware of this little guitar selling history here.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the 70s, there was this ad for sale a 12-string Rickenbacker. Okay. And I went to this lady's house. It was his mom. She said, this guitar's been in the attic. He hasn't, he's gone. He's not around anymore. Yeah. And I opened up. It was one of those red 60s Rickenbacker. Yeah. I said, what do you want for it? $100.
Oh, boy. Did you buy it?
I did buy it. The problem with the old Rickenbackers, the neck warped, the tuners were terrible. They really made the guitar is now very well. I got two of them, two 12-string Recs.
But you still got that one that you bought from that lady for, what she wanted, $100?
No,
that one you don't have.
No, that was good. Yeah.
What was your first drum set, Greg?
It was a Rogers 3-piece black diamond with light bulbs inside. The guy that owned them had light bulbs inside of them. And my father was like, well, he must have played strip bars. He was like, so it was like, but it was a nice
for a living for it.
What's that?
Did you go out on the streets for a living for it?
Yeah, right.
For the black diamond.
Yeah. Santa brought me my first drum set. It was a gold sparkle Kent drums. I wish I had that kit today because, they weren't that. It was an entry-level kit, and a lot of us kids at the time, that's what your parents bought for you.
Those were based in Buffalo. They were based in Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's right. On the carnival, Santa is real, and I think Greg's going to drum for the Elves next week. So he won't be here. He's the little drummer boy up there.
Okay. We do have the Christmas brunch at the Cub Room coming up on the 15th. If anybody's interested in coming to see that, so that's a lot of fun.
So after the Rickenbackers, what happened?
Well, see, I came to Rochester in the. After I graduated, and I was 19, and I was going to the University of Rochester. Okay. I tell you, the amp I'm still kicking my butt that I got rid of was the Dual Showman. Nobody uses that.
The Dual Showmans, I remember that.
I don't know why I got rid of
they
that.
They were PAs at one point.
Nobody uses it. Nobody uses that. I have a Deluxe. Yeah. That's almost a standard
Dual
now.
Showmans were huge, but I remember people used to use those as front speakers for PA.
So I came and I started working at the House of Guitars when they were in the little plaza down the street. Remember that?
I remember
I was
that.
teaching guitar and doing some sales stuff. And I'm still buddies with Bruce. He gave me my first Rickenbacker for $1,000.
Okay.
And and that was fun. He was always been a good buddy.
Yeah, they've got a few guitars there. Oh my God!
I actually learned a lot of the history of it just because of Greg Prevost's book.
Yeah.
So he puts a lot of history. Because I can't remember, when you're a kid, it's like I remember going to Empire Comics, but I can't visualize. When you're a kid, your dads take you. It seems like it takes forever. It's like 5 minutes away. I can't remember, like, the House of Guitars. I would skip school, didn't drive over there. I cannot remember the first time I was down there, which location it was.
I remember that little store, though. It was like two aisles. It was like hardly anything.
And he sold me a Guild D50. I still have it.
Okay.
For $500.
For all you guitar enthusiasts out there, it means almost nothing to me, but it sounds good, and all you guitar players are all drooling out there.
And I appreciate how, because I'm sort of a cluttered bit of mess, but I'm not good at finding stuff. Like I'd be in there, armors wise. I tell them to clean it up a little, and I go ask somebody, "You have this?" They know exactly where it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the only way I bought records there. I used to come in with a list and hand it to them.
Yeah.
and they would tick some boxes.
It would be under like it was like a guy at Worldwide News. You go ask him, it's under a rock on the side of the store over here.
That was it.
That special edition Playboy you were looking for.
Well, you know what? This is a true story, real quick. So I was in House of Guitars one day, last year or something, and Armin happened to be there, and I said hi to him, and he's a nice guy and everything. And I'm rummaging through some stuff, and I'm watching people as they're going through the bins and whatever. And I talked right to Armin. I said, Armin, I think this is your plan, is that you like to have stuff sort of disorganized because people like to find a treasure.
Yeah.
If they're digging around, look at this. I honestly think that's part of their MO. I don't think it's just that they're lazy or whatever.
It's the ambiance too, though. You go in, it's got like character to it. Every store, like the old comic book store, like you think of some old store you went into. It's like disorganized chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone upstairs at the house and just rummaged through their chrome,
all the hardware
scrapyard there, and I only need this one section. I put something together and I paid $20, $30 for a part instead of buying a whole thing. I mean, it's actually a great thing if you know what you're looking for.
The best. I remember the guy. I haven't seen this guy there in decades. I don't know who he was. He's a cool guy. Like, he sold me my first bass.
Okay.
So the world's probably hunting for him, put a bounty on his head after me. But so I'm talking to him, right? And I'm talking to him about like a record. It was like a new record coming out. He stands there, burps, and goes walking away. I'm like, this guy's the coolest ever.
Well, the Chesterfield King guys used to.
Greg was like always.
Yeah, they worked there. They definitely worked there. Sure.
So what were some of the early bands that you had and stuff once you got going?
Early bands, well, I had a couple folk groups when I was in high school, a group.
That's cool.
And then we had a band called Our Gang that was in high school.
I know those guys.
From years ago. And when I was, then I came to Rochester, and then I started looking for a gig, and I don't remember what, probably in the paper.
Most likely in the paper.
A guitar player needed. Yeah. So I went down to Al Green's.
Oh yeah.
Al Green's. And there's the band. And at the time it was a whole different crew. It was a saxophone player and a bass player.
Now you're speaking of what? The Boyd McCoy Band?
This is when I tried out.
Okay.
I tried out for Boyd McCoy. And
all right.
So I got the gig.
Okay.
And,
very good.
They never played soul music in my life,
Really?
For me, I was weaned on John Stewart from the Kings.
Okay, well, yeah, you were doing the folk then, sure.
So,
Okay.
But I knew some of the rock stuff from playing from high school, So I get the gig, and now I'm on this journey of learning how to play, soul music and strutting. How to do all that strutting stuff, So
and part of the show with those too. When you go see a soul band, you got to see the
Hey, when do these chords change?
So did that line up there? That consisted of Boyd, obviously, with you on guitar. Yeah. Is that the one that had Hoppy Little on bass? James Hoppy Little?
No, and I don't remember.
So just before Hoppy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was the saxophone player was a Tony too. I don't remember his last name, and there was a bass player.
Okay.
But Larry
was playing drums. Larry Graves was on drums.
I know Larry.
Larry. God, we played. You're right. He was really good at getting jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boyd was.
Yeah.
Well, Boyd was a self-promoter. Boyd was a businessman, not only a singer.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of what should we classify Boyd as? A musician who is a promoter, or a promoter who is a musician, but he was quite the talker and a promoter.
Jack of many trades.
Jack of all trades.
You know what? I'll use an example for that, though. That's a good example of Van Halen, really, because Eddie Van Halen, brilliant. But you needed Roth for the big mouth guy to go around and sell the band and bring people in. You need the character.
Yeah.
Didn't Boyd, if I'm trying to think, if I remember correct, didn't he live downstate or Geneva? Wasn't he from Geneva or somewhere?
Boyd was from out west. He was from Texas, I believe.
Oh,
okay.
Or out west someplace. I'm not exactly sure. I know I talked to Boyd once, and he was telling me some his Army stories. Well, Marines. He was in the Marines. And I couldn't think of his name at first, but he was in the Marines with Archie Bell. From Archie Bell and the Drills. Tighten up, baby. Tighten up. Yeah. Tighten up.
Put that hamburger down.
Yeah.
You can always tell probably when you're in a band with a Marine.
Yeah. He was a big guy. Oh, he was.
Boyd was what?
6'2", 3? Practicing at his house. So I get the gig.
Yeah.
And then he says, "You got to come down to the shed house. I got to get you the right clothes." Now listen, guys.
Yeah.
Right. Velvet pants.
Oh yeah.
And all this. I only wore them for 2 months.
Where Shed House...
That is it, okay?
Yeah.
It was in Irondequoit where Jack Green's is now.
Yeah.
Right.
It
was out near Marketplace Mall.
Yeah. Well, there was one in Henrietta, but then there was another one in Irondequoit.
Yeah.
There was a clothing store. When I got in the band with Boyd, we had like 3 different changes. We had pink shirts with some graphics on it. We had blue shirts with some graphics on it. But we had the ultimate 3-piece suits. There are no pictures that I'm aware of. I hope somebody out there might have one and send it to us. If you remember Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta and his white 3-piece suit with the black shirt, I believe it was, we had cream-colored 3-piece suits with chocolate button-down shirts, dress shirts. And I'm going to tell you something. When I put that suit on, I felt like $1 million, okay? The whole band looked like we were rich.
Was that from Goldstein's by any chance?
It was I believe it was Goldstein's on West Main Street. Yeah. Goldstein's. I couldn't think of the name.
We all went
there
to buy that.
Goldstein's had the best dress clothes back in the 70s. That if you wanted to dress up, and most of us did back in those days. I always liked the disco days, man. I needed my polyester pants and my platform shoes. Man, I'm going out dancing. But we had those suits, man. They were the bomb.
That's one thing I wondered, though. Okay, like when you're playing soul and you're dressed like that. Do you sweat right through the things and keep them, or do you like do a wardrobe change?
As a drummer, you'll leave that jacket on just for so long, and then you got to take it off, right, Greg?
Right, couple songs in.
Yeah, a couple songs in, the jacket's off.
It's like it would start with the jacket, then the shirt, then the pants, like if it's summer, and that's why you're behind the drum stool.
Well, a lot of times, a lot of those things were polyester, and you started going crazy.
Yeah, they were, you're right.
What I like hearing actually already, though, is that how you started liking folk, but I always say about music, if you keep your mind open to every genre, and you progress, and maybe it's not for you, but at least you try it, and you find something.
It was a ball playing some of those things, like My Girl. I had a ball, but he was a real staunch soul. Also, I kind of brought the rock.
Okay, that's a good combination.
He actually said that in some book, somewhere I saw it, because I kind of brought the rock influence into it.
That's a good combination.
Have you seen The Commitments? That's a movie about a soul band, guy's former soul band. You have to see it.
Yeah.
No, I liked it because, like, Brian Jones, like with the Stones, he got pissed because he was like a hardcore blues guy where they were trying to bring more rock in.
Yeah.
And I think, why not? Why not bring in, like, with soul, bring a little bit of rock? Like, it's all, there shouldn't be any rules.
No, there are no rules in rock and roll, is there? I don't think there is. But I've always classified Boyd as a white Wilson Pickett. If you know Wilson Pickett, that raspy, soulful, funky voice that Wilson Pickett had, that's what Boyd had. I mean, it was gravelly.
Right, I remember that.
Like that, So, I've always admired Boyd. We had a lot of fun, man.
Who were some of the bands you, like, sort of admired in Boyd, like Boyd admired in terms of soul, that you sort of used as inspiration?
Which band members?
Like like a band, like in terms of like inspiration, like in terms of like soul music. Who were some of the soul bands like Boyd and them, like that, like sort of were like inspirations of them for their music?
I mean, again, I remember Wilson. Wilson. It was nice because when I was in high school, my dad printed all of the concert tickets for Hobart College, so we went to all the concerts. I remember Wilson Pickett.
You sort of just absorbed like an amoeba.
And that was the era when colleges, when I was in colleges,
brought in national
acts.
acts.
You had 3 or 4 national acts. Now they can barely afford a local band.
Yeah, you would get like, it's amazing. Yeah. Say, I'm going to refrain from, because they said you played in our gang, and I don't want it ruined because I love them. I don't want to hear about how making alfalfa work.
It was a local our gang. Yeah.
Was it a local Rochester our
gang? No, it was Geneva.
It was a Geneva
Waterloo,
we had
Lions.
We had an our gang band in
I heard about like spanking alfalfa and all those guys when I watched the show, and I don't want to know.
Were you around the same time that who's the other guy from Geneva there?
Wilmer,
Wilmer,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and you know Ronnie Albert's probably all those guys.
My dad did all the advertising printing for them and everything. So Wilmer would come down to his shop, yeah.
How was it too for you? Because I always ask. That's one thing I just don't think I could ever do. How did it feel to play live at first and get up in front of people?
I've done it so many. I don't even remember maybe the early era of when the folk music, when we played certain places. Yeah, I was nervous. I played so many gigs.
I think as
a
musician,
even think about it.
Yeah, as a musician, if you're playing an instrument, most of us want to play and entertain. I mean, that's my guess. I don't know. What about you, Greg?
Yeah. I mean, I find sometimes I'm even like, once I'm not playing, I'm going on a break or something. I don't know what to do. I just kind of wander around,
But I think it just comes natural. It just happens. You just fall in with for most. I think there's a few people that, and I knew this was in reading some stories about the early Beatles when they had Stu Sutcliffe on bass guitar. That Stu, he was kind of shy guy. He played with his back to the audience. He turned.
Well, he couldn't play either, which didn't help.
That doesn't help either, right? But most of us, I think, just gravitate towards it. It's like, all right, let's go. We're on. Let's do it.
Special knack for things. We're like, this is just whatever here. But I think some people are just naturals. I mean, there are performers in anything where they are sick before going on, playing.
Yeah.
Remember, you had your Bills shirt on, boo. But remember Jim Kelly? Jim Kelly, I guess, used to barf before every game.
Really?
And then I would watch the Bills and go, you make me feel like barfing.
Not this year so much, though. They've had a lot of people, a lot of fans on the edge of their seats for most of their games
this year. It's been a great run so far.
Last week was crazy.
Okay, let's not talk about the Bills.
I know.
I know it's carnival.
Let's go back to what was even the best when we opened the Boyd McCoy. We opened for Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Did you?
Blood, Sweat, and Tears for Bill Haley and the Comets.
Really?
And they were big crowds. That is really energizing.
And I had met Steve Katz at Bob Shop.
The Bob Shop.
I had his book. His book is great. But that's something, too, like what I found with some friends, like my good friend Rob Mount. We're growing up. We're kids. Listen to Fulmer. He's drumming for Lou Graham later.
Yeah.
You're following a band. They're opening for somebody you've loved for years, and it's like that feeling.
Yeah. Boyd McCoy. We played with Purple Heart. When Lou Grammatical and his brother were
Poor Heart,
when they were still in
I remember
band.
Poor Heart. Greg probably does too.
Oh yeah, they played at our high school.
Yeah. Poor Heart was one of the top bands at one point, late '60s, I believe it was. That's the forerunner. Many people may not remember this or know this, that before Lou got into Black Sheep, which was a very popular local band, he was in a band called Poor Heart. And I believe in the early stages, if I'm not mistaken, he played drums for them.
Right.
Right?
Right, and sang,
And sang. And eventually they moved Lou up to the front because he had such a dynamic voice. And Lou was fronting Poor Heart.
And then
then his brother became the drummer.
A few guys did. Spanky Hashman, I believe, was in Poor Heart.
Yeah, Benny was the drummer. I mean, but what I was going to say is, along the way, that band Orange happened. Okay. And they were the best.
And Dickie Graham was in that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. And Benny was playing. But, man, I remember they did vocals like Because by the Beatles and things. And they just spot on, dynamic, crazy.
Right. We're going down memory lane, kids.
That's what I hope.
Bear with us.
I mean, now I could Google my phone, see anybody your precious Billie Eilish. I can see what she's up to. That's why we're apart, so he doesn't jump me when I say this. But
you seem to mention that
what
a lot.
I would love would be like you hope sometimes like they'll find like okay like go back to the World Series when Mazeroski hit the home run, how Bing Crosby had somebody taping it for him.
Yeah.
I would love to find out. Well, I was at this show and I videoed it and we have some footage. So much of this stuff, unfortunately, you can't find because it's not like these days where it's like somebody's got it on the phone if you haven't taped it or anything.
Yeah. The Boyd McCoy albums, from what I understand, are becoming collectibles. There's 2 albums. One, I believe that you were on the first one, was the black cover, a silhouette of Boyd, and it's called, I don't know if there's even a name.
Live.
Just Boyd McCoy Live,
Yep.
And that album had a top 200 song off of it.
Didn't even know that.
Got to Give a Little, which was got some radio airplay here on the East Coast.
And Got to Give a Little is we recorded in Nick Kozlowski's basement.
Nick Kozlowski, who last year was inducted into the Rochester Music Hall of Fame.
We're halfway through recording, and his mom calls down, dinner time.
I would have left that in. No, I would have left that in. That's when you hear.
We waited an hour for him to come back.
No kidding. That's funny.
That was.
Yeah.
Wow. I would have left that in.
I'm looking at the liner notes here on the album. So Mick St. John, WHFM. I don't remember that.
WHFM. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What's the record label there?
It's a
Funky Records.
Funky Records. That was Boyd's own label. He had his own recording studio on Lyle Avenue.
Yep. I recorded there once.
Only lead-lined recording studio in God knows how many miles from here to Timbuktu.
So Superman can't find it? Okay.
But these albums that he recorded are becoming collectible albums. I mean, a lot of people like to collect local area type vinyl, and some of the prices on these are getting a little crazy. That album right there, Boyd gave me that album. That's the ladies and gentlemen can't see the cameras are off today, but. The live album Boyd gave me, and he says, all right, here's the album. He goes, learn this, and that song for the show. And okay, so that's how I got my first album by Boyd, the live album.
Hey, you were better off than Rob Halford when he subbed, for Black Sabbath because he listened to a tape of the songs in the car on the way there. Yeah. So you got it lucky and everything. But I know when you were doing like the live album there, I think one of my issues with albums, especially now, is they're so overproduced. So I think it was probably more bare bones.
Yeah, it was just live,
live
right on live.
It's like so overproduced all these, and live albums aren't live.
Well, I'll tell you, I just on the way here, I was listening to Sirius XM, and they had the Ozzy's Boneyard,
Yeah.
And they had this version of Montrose playing Rock Candy at the record plant. So it's a live. I mean, it's dry. There's no verb. It's good playing and everything, but it just sounds like a band playing the song. It doesn't have the big effects like the album had all that echo and all that. Yeah. And you start to realize, how much of this stuff is really like kind of like a dog and pony show, It's like kind of like
yeah. Well, they used to add back in the '60s. They would add the canned applause and the canned made it really sound a little bit phony, as opposed to. I mean, not everyone did it, but some albums you can tell they kind of ease into the applause and the yelling, more, or whatever they used to yell.
I guarantee you, all our shows we played here. Those are real live audiences you hear the applause from. Yeah. At the end, when we did the rooftop show, they weren't faked at all.
Oh, the rooftop,
the Humble Pie that live at the Fillmore, remember I bought the reissue, right? And there's some liner notes in there. And they said that when they first did it, they brought it to A&M, and they thought they did this great job. And the guy's listening to it, and he goes, where's the audience? And they had turned all the ambient mics off.
Did they?
So they didn't have any. They had mics pointed at the... So they took it back, and they found the tracks, and they brought the audience back up. So it's just so... But it's interesting there, because then they had the clapping and all that stuff in the, So, if it's truly live, you want the audience in there.
You do.
Well, worst live mix ever, if this was live, was the Tom Petty live album I have. Because it goes, how you hear in a live album, it's one song to another. you hear the grooves change and then the applause.
Yeah, right.
But as you know now by the carnival, we go all over the place. How did this character get in your band?
Well, I know. Was it Paul when you recorded that album, the Black Album? It was Paul on guitar.
Yep.
James Hoppy Little was on bass.
Yep. He was in my wedding too.
Was he?
He was in
you guys were close then.
What was he had? What car did he had?
Yeah, I don't remember. I know Hoppy used to like to wear this wide-brimmed hat at the gigs.
Yeah.
Well, because I played with Hoppy myself later on.
Yeah.
We'll get into that maybe a little bit later or next year. But Vern DeWitt was on trumpet with Tony Scuderi on trumpet. Larry Graves was on drums. And, of course, Boyd was on vocals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they had the big hit there, that regional hit called Got to Give a Little. Was recorded somewhere and released in 1969. That's the information I found on Funky Records.
It has to have been the 70s.
Really?
Had to have been the 70s because I recorded that.
Okay.
Yeah, in Gazowski's basement. Yeah,
okay,
so it was 72, 73.
Okay, we're tweaking things, ladies and gentlemen.
Not quite remember the years in there.
Well, yeah, so Mick was inducted into the Rochester Music Hall of Fame. Mick Gazowski. So that's really cool that you got to work with somebody at really that was the ground floor just getting started back then, I believe.
Yeah. Speaking of the live things, the CMF concerts we did. Jasper did 2 of those. One at the wine press and then one in the basement. One at the studio.
Where did you usually play around here in those days? What was the scene like?
Everywhere.
Anybody that would have them.
In those, we played 6-7 times a week.
Now, that's with Boyd or with Jasper?
Or
both? Both. Well, Greg and I grew up in that same time frame, and we were playing a lot.
Boyd booked the Ramada Inn on Charlotte Avenue and Tim's Tavern. I think we played 5 times a week. It's interesting. So after about 6-7 months, Boyd decided he was going to pay us salary. Not per gig. He paid us all, and I can't remember what it was.
That could work out.
And I mean, if we played or not, I got a weekly check.
That's interesting.
And just to show you where things have gone, I paid for the University of Rochester tuition in cash from Boyd McCoy Band.
Wow!
It wasn't $40,000 then. Back in 1970, I think it was $1,500 a semester.
I bought a burger.
Cash.
Yep. I bought a burger and fries and a beer with the last gig money that I made.
I lived at the college,
and that cost $1,500.
I lived at the college complex apartments. $25 a month.
Wow.
Period.
Yeah, this reminds me, my friends, when we were in college, we always have what I'll call our college cars, our beaters, like I had my Camaro. But we had part-time jobs. We didn't need loans.
Yeah.
We paid. I went to U of R for grad school, but I actually got like the things like the grants. But like I went to Fisher. All my friends and I, we lived at home. We could pay for tuition. Yeah. Now, I won't even say what it is.
Now, $250,000
That's expensive to go to school today. Yeah. Well, Paul mentioned Jasper in the last segment here a minute ago. That was the band after the Boyd band. After playing with Boyd.
That's why I left Boyd McCoy to join them because that was really my wheelhouse.
Okay.
Playing
stepping stone.
Because I was able to play banjo.
Okay. Okay, with Jasper you could play banjo. Mm-hmm. What about the second album with Boyd, the Yellow, the Locomotive Woman LP? Were you involved in that at all?
I was not.
Okay.
I was not.
That was a little bit later. I think they came out in 70. I got 73 marked down here. 1973. The band, 1973.
Yeah.
The band, which is mentioned on the back cover, the band played a lot at Barney Google's.
Oh, yeah.
There was a bar called Barney Google somewhere in the area.
Okay.
And there was a great endorsement on the back cover by the owner, an endorsement / testament from the club owner, James Miller.
Huh.
James Miller Jr. And he speaks very highly of Boyd. The place was always packed according to Mr. Miller's endorsement. And so just a few notes on, where the band was moving along. So it changed members like a lot of bands do. You know, people come and go, sadly, but and some bands stay together longer than others. I mentioned this last night in talking with a few of the guys. Bands have a life expectancy, and Greg knows this too. I mean, sometimes we're luckier than in one band than in another. Sometimes you don't even get out of the basement sometimes. How many times does that happen, right?
Yeah,
You're rehearsing for months, and all of a sudden you hit a brick wall, and everybody goes their own way.
Yeah, I've had a lot of bands that are...
Well, a good example is this Birds tribute band I put together. Oh, my God. Again, we're all in our 70s, the guys who do. But finding people that would come in, they would come in for 2 months, and then they didn't want to do it anymore. So it took almost a year to find 3 guys that were really committed to
this new band. So, ladies and gentlemen, Paul has a new band out there. It's called For the Birds. It's F-O-U-R. For the Birds. It's a tribute band to, naturally, Jim McGuinn and the original Birds, and it's a tribute band. I went to see them last night. It was your debut.
It was.
And they've got some notable, recognizable musicians in the band, a couple guys that I've played with before. Why don't you tell everyone who's in the new band? Let's see. Ronnie Giudice on guitar. I played with Ronnie in Circus.
Tommy Borelli
on bass guitar. Okay.
Dana Gregory
and Dana. Drums. What an incredible drummer Dana is.
From the Jasper era.
Okay.
And we'll be at Abilene's on the 20th.
On the 20th.
You played at the casino, right? In Niagara Falls or whatever. Where'd you play in Niagara Falls?
No.
Where'd you play?
He went over the falls in a barrel. That's what he did.
Where did you play? Because I remember going to that casino. I thought the Birds played there because the elevator took me 8 miles high.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Spaceman.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, Boyd was a white Wilson Pickett. He's a sound-alike. If you like that soulful, raspy voice, that was Boyd.
Now, we're talking about him enough. Is there anywhere you could find some of this stuff? Anywhere you could listen to it?
YouTube.
Hopefully there's something we could play to the show.
Yeah, there is. There's a couple things. I made a note of a couple songs that are on YouTube that hopefully Andy can get to. Speaking of Andy, where's Andy? Andy usually makes an appearance at every show that I've been.
He graces us when he feels like it.
And when he comes in here,
it has to be the exact moment and mood.
I don't see any.
The time is right.
I usually see his feet walking from underneath the dividers here when he's making an appearance. But
how did that Birds thing come together? Then you just thought about, I really dig this. Let's see if other people dig it.
I have been a Birds fanatic for years. Jasper, we actually we opened for Jim McGuinn and Gene Clark.
Oh, that's big, man. That's big.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen,
there he is,
the master of disaster, Andy Calabrese.
Tower of Power at the casino. That's what.
That's what.
Oh, that was me. I went to see Tower of Power with the new lineup and the new guys. That was Friday night.
Well, did the tower go 8 miles high?
They did. They did. For me, they did, man. They packed the joint. It was in the event center, and I was expecting to see them in the Bears Den, the small one. Not that they don't deserve to be in the event center, but they sold some serious tickets for this show. They kicked some serious behind.
They're the best.
You have to understand, being on the Carnival, we're not a radio show. We go all over the place. We talk about
this not Tower of Power in there.
My view on stats and stuff. Look them up yourself.
I know these guys always. They make fun of me because I bring notes, but I can't remember things. I've got the CRS, the CRS disease. Can't remember Shiite.
So a funny Boyd McCoy story. He had an old Econoline van.
You
still used it in that old day with Boyd McCoy on the side.
Well, he didn't have the name on it when I was in the band, but he had the Econoline, and I had one too. So we'd both show up in these mid-60 Ford Econolines with the suicide doors that open from the side. Yeah, we both had one, Boyd and myself. Yeah.
Well, we played in Buffalo every Sunday night. Oh, it was a trip.
My God. Every Sunday?
Every Sunday night. And we had to take turns driving the truck.
Oh, no kidding.
So I'm coming back. It's like 2 in the morning coming down the throughway. All of a sudden I hear this clunk. So the
drive shaft?
The drive shaft.
The drive shaft fell out?
And it's dug
now
in.
It's
dug
into
no. So the trooper comes along, and somehow we were able to back it. We were able to get it off the side of the road. And got doing
so it's 2 o'clock in the morning on the thruway. Nice.
Said, how can I get home? He says, well, I'll take you to the closest exit then you're on your own.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
of course, I take my guitar out because I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, all our equipment gets towed by someone. I don't have a clue.
I don't care about anybody else's equipment. I'm taking my guitar.
So I get to the thing, and the guy at the judge said, well, you're going to have to hitchhike. Fortunately, these two guys picked me up at 3 a.m. and took me right home.
Oh, wow. That's crazy, man.
I think the difference now is like if that happened, if they saw guys dressed as musicians, you'd be having home in jail for the night.
And this is before cell phones, so you can't even call anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had a similar story. I went to Darien Lake for a Journey concert a bunch of years ago. And they sent us out, if you park in that parking lot for Darien Lake, if anybody's been there, they know the cluster fudge of a mess it is at the end of a concert. You got 1,000 cars pulling out of the parking lot. Some they send out in the main front, the front exit on Route 77, but a lot they reroute to the back woods, and you go into the woods to make a circle around. Well, anyway, that's the way they sent me this one night. And I get to an intersection, a 4-stop stop sign. It was dark. It was getting dark. It was like 10 o'clock at night. In fact, 10 o'clock at night. It already is dark. Somebody ran a stop sign. Make a long story short, if I can, 3-car accident. All 3 cars, including me, I got hit head on. 3 cars are totaled, and they sent everybody to the hospital except me. I was the lucky one, didn't have to go to the hospital. So they towed all 3 cars. I'm like one of the last ones there at the accident scene, and a cop offers me a ride into Batavia. By now, it's like, I don't know, midnight by the time we got there. I had to call my son in Rochester, which, it's what, an hour and... to get to Darien from Arundequoit, probably an hour and a half, something like that, whatever it is, to have my son come and get me. So now I got to wait for my son to drive out to Batavia to get me at the troopers' barracks there, or the sheriff's barracks. And I didn't get home till like 3 o'clock in the morning. What a great concert!
I was going to say, how was it?
There's that one 4-way where I've seen accidents happen. But do you have any good road stories like that, Greg?
Greg's on the road all the time.
I actually do.
Let's hear one.
We were out in the Midwest, and I think we were in Minnesota or the Dakotas somewhere, and I hit a patch of ice on a black ice or something, and I went careening down this incline. I had a dog in the car, and I went totally down this thing, right? So I was in a van, and I call a tow guy. Tow guy comes, he hooks me up, and he tells me specifically, when I'm bringing you up, don't hit the brake. Do I even have to finish this story? So, of course, for whatever reason, I got nervous or something, and my foot hits the brake, and that disconnects the hook, and back down we
the
go.
hill.
And that guy was so pissed.
Oh, no.
And yeah, so there's one. I have more, but that's a good one.
Do you ever make it home?
Yeah, from that.
Do you guys have any stories when the equipment truck didn't make it to the job?
Oh, yes.
We have two
yes,
where our truck broke down.
For...
And we couldn't play.
Oh,
Fortunately, we were
with Boyd's Econo line.
No, this was Jasper.
Jasper band.
Fortunately, one gig there was a band before us, and we rented their their PA system and all their stuff. The second time, club owners don't understand. What do you mean the equipment's not here?
Yeah. Well, I played for Joe Beard a couple years ago at the Clarissa Street Reunion Festival, and they were supposed to have the back line. All the equipment set up at the gig on the stage. So we get to the gig, and guess what? There's equipment, but it's on a different stage. They only had a back line for one stage. They had 3 stages. Yeah. Our stage didn't have it. So fortunately, the next band got there a little bit earlier than anticipated because the band that was coming on after us. and they let us use their equipment. But who was the drummer? Billy was Billy B, I think. Oh no, it was Billy's drummer. Anyway, I can't think. Bobby had brought his drums, so Bobby set his drums up and let me play the gig with Joe Beard. But that was a little nerve-wracking, not having any equipment on stage.
What was the story? Remember, there's you talk about equipment and problems. There was the story with Whale. I think they finally ended because their equipment fell in the lake. It was something. There was the van was around Quite Bay, was it, or something? They somehow it backed it or something, and the van with the equipment fell in the lake.
There's a lot of those
stories.
There's a lot of those. Yeah, Vanilla Fudge, their stuff didn't make it. I remember when they came here.
Didn't it happen to Black Sheep?
Black Sheep. That's kind of what put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, that's right. They lost all their equipment. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, people don't realize, too, listening, these days, people even go to concerts. I mean, great, you've had residencies, obviously. Yeah. But back in the day, you could have bands playing every night. I mean, and there was a big thing, Leah, like a lot of places, you could make a lot of money doing that and having, every night, we talked about back in the 70s.
Yeah, the 70s was rocking and rolling back then. But
we had gigs, we got paid $1,000 for one night.
Wow.
How many hours did you play, too? Did you play, how many
4-hour gig, typical 4-hour gig?
Typical 3-set gigs.
3-set gig,
remember, the drinking age was 18.
Yeah.
We could play the frat parties.
Right.
We could play the Rathskellers. Yeah. We could play the high schools. I mean, we'd play a high school and then go play a night gig. I remember us all sleeping in the van while roadies to get to another job.
Wow.
I remember playing a lot of U of R frat parties with Subway. They were Howie and those guys.
Yeah.
We used to go to Alfred. They were mad drinker people. And they was used to be a ball playing those gigs.
I roadied for some friends back in the late 60s, the Rail. With Mike Galena, Frank Vergette, we all went to school together.
Frank
Vergette. Remember Frank? Yeah. I was a roadie, and we were playing RIT. So we get to RIT, and it's a frat party. So everybody's drunk, and the guys are everybody's partying hard. And it got later and later, and they did their set, 4-hour gig, whatever it was. So they wanted us to play. They wanted the band to play longer, and so they threw some more money together and had the band play a little bit longer. Well. Now, I'm 16 years old at the time. All right? We're still in high school. Yeah. And so were the guys in the band. Right. So by the time we got done with that gig, loaded all the equipment, drove back home. I mean, it's only Henrietta to Arundecoit, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning now, okay? Back in those days, if you were a nicer boy, you didn't come home at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? So I get home, all the lights. It was the only house in the neighborhood on my street. They had lights. Every light in the house was on.
Yeah, that sounds like sounds like my mother.
Yep. So
again, no cell phones.
No cell phones. Well, if I was smart, which I'm not always smart, I would have found a phone and called Mom and Dad and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be late. Don't wait up for me," or Yeah. So I get home at 3 o'clock. And they were waiting for me, man. It was thank God my father didn't own a gun, because I wouldn't be sitting here right now. But he was pissed. Where have you been? Who else does this? I go, Dad, everybody that's in the music business is out late sometimes, So they were forgiving, though.
Yeah. I was 17 and we did a frat party. Did a frat party with our band, and I was pretty drunk when I got home, and I got called out on that. Yeah. And remember, Rochester, you remember the Varsity Inn?
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
It was $2, all you could
drink
all night.
Yeah. Was that Thursdays, I think?
And you thought nothing of getting in your car.
Oh, yeah, that was our era. That was Greg and I. That was our era.
I have 2 beers, and I don't want to get in the car anymore.
I know.
Yeah. Well, so many good bars out in Henrietta. I mean, if you're in Arundecoit, there wasn't a hell of a lot happening in the 60s and early 70s as far as entertainment-wise.
Restaurant stuff.
No. So we'd have to go to Henrietta. Henrietta had all the best bars, like you said, the VI, the Orange Monkey. The list is endless. It's on and on and on.
Yep,
the Casablanca, I think, was down there.
I told you my wife.
Yeah, my wife was. It was a little bit later, but Casablanca.
My wife helped to open the Orange Monkey.
Did she?
She was
Oh, yeah, she was telling me. I met your wife.
Servers, yeah.
That's right. I met your wife. Very nice lady. She was telling me a little bit about that when she worked.
She was good friends with Tony, the owner. You know,
Okay.
I think they were dating back in those days.
Okay.
And, yeah, so.
This one I really regret. It was just a little before my time because I've heard so many stories about it.
And then there was the Red Creek. Then there was the Red Creek.
Red Creek, too. Red Creek,
well.
Yeah.
But would bring in national bands into the 80s, really.
You want a weird one? I saw there Harry Dean Stanton.
Who's
I
that?
hung out with him.
Somebody, Brian Williams, was just talking about that gig over there. Cause
I actually he had like little pictures. He signed a picture to me.
he's an actor.
Yeah, he's an actor.
Harry Dean Stanton?
You've seen him, even if you don't know you've seen him.
Yeah.
He's like the sort of laconic, guy.
He was an alien, wasn't he? In the original Alien?
he
was one of the crew guys.
You're right.
Repo Man.
Yes.
He wasn't an illegal alien, was he?
No, he was not.
And remember Fairport. We started Fairport Village Inn.
Fairport Village Inn, that's
to the
right.
Hook and Ladder, then down to Shorts.
Fairport Village Inn.
We played there all the back and forth.
UFR there was always the Elm Grove Inn was always the place.
Oh, yeah.
Elm Grove, we played there with Circus.
Go down to House of Guitars, because House of Guitars is right down the block. I mean, Record Archive.
It was at the time, yeah.
That's right.
My podcast, if it's freaking House of Guitars, it's House of Guitars.
So what have we learned from this discussion?
That we partied our asses off in our younger days.
Rochester used to actually have a music scene.
I guess for being cool, like a little younger, still hitting 30 soon. And
who's 30?
Again, my podcast, my age.
That's right. You're only 29.
But it's just I always get more. There's this sort of loose sense of fun then.
Well, we were younger, so you made your fun. You know where the fun where it was. You did your thing. Time to go out Friday night. You're in front of the mirror. You're getting dressed after you took your shower, I hope. And then you went out, man. You know what I mean?
But I think for us, because drinking age was up to 21, a lot of us would be like, "What are you going to do tonight?" And a lot of us just going to movies or trying to find a good secluded neighborhood drinking because you could do something because we didn't have those.
They should have just left it at 19 and been done with it.
And we'd get home at 2 in the morning and then get up and go to work.
And go up
at 8 o'clock.
Get up and go to work.
Didn't
You're
think
right.
anything about it.
Oh no, those days I was
cross-eyed though. You were cross-eyed. I remember doing that.
I would walk in, see my dad going to work, and hand him the paper boy. Then I'd go to work with no sleep, and then go to sleep when I got home.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
You still do that stuff the way you're the man of the road, Greg.
Yeah, Greg does that now.
I'm doing it today.
You sleep you were Keith Richards, where Keith Richards didn't sleep for 8 days.
Keith,
I got a kick out of there's one caption on Facebook where it's Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and there's Keith Richards in the background. But okay, moving right along. So let's go into just briefly a little bit of my history with Boyd McCoy. So I got in with Boyd in 76 and 77. So it had 3 of what I consider kind of original members. It had Boyd, of course, James Hoppy Little. And you played with Hoppy, right, Paul? Yeah, and he was in your wedding.
And Scuderi.
Yeah, and Tony Scuderi on trumpet, and
he did Fender Rhodes.
He did Fender Rhodes.
He was a good piano player.
I think that's his main instrument, if I'm not mistaken. I think Tony plays piano first and trumpet second.
We would go to his house on Herkimer Street.
Yeah,
and he was writing out the scores for the trumpet parts.
Tony's great, man.
It was. Amazing musician.
He's an amazing musician and a great guy. I've had a lot of laughs with Tony over the years. I've stayed in touch with Tony since we played together way back in the middle 70s. We also had the new guys now. Vic Nardi was on trumpet, and he played trombone, which is unusual. You don't see a lot of guys playing trumpet and trombone at the same time. So that was Vic Nardi. Chris Hickey was our guitarist. He was another new guy, and myself. So we had 3 new guys. I was on drums, Chris was on guitar, and Vic was on trumpet. We were the new guys on the block.
I went to Nazareth with those guys, with Vic and
Did you know
Chris.
Nick? Vic, rather?
Yep.
Oh, no kidding.
How do you play trumpet and trombone
not at the same time.
You got to put them in your mouth?
And I've seen sax players do that. They've had two at the same time, even 3. I think Danny LeBate can play. He's done 3, if I'm not mistaken. He's crazy good. And we played the Holiday Inn in Waterloo. We had a 2-week stint in Waterloo, New York. We played the Brick and Nail on Lyle Avenue. This was with Boyd.
Yeah.
We played the Ugly Mug in Chi-Li Paul Plaza. In fact, we played till 1 o'clock at Chi-Li Paul Plaza at the Mug. And we jump in our cars and we go to Buffalo. Back then they had
4 o'clock.
They had The Playboy Club and the 747 were side by side.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And then Boyd ended up buying a bar in Holcomb, New York.
He did?
He bought a bar. It was called The Lounge. And Boyd, he sang with the band, and then the band would take a break, and he'd jump into the DJ booth, and then he became the DJ. So if you knew Boyd, it's normal for him. You know, he was a maniac.
What was your time period about playing the Ugly Mug?
That was in the late 60s, 76 to 77.
This was around a long time because I know that.
They were.
Because they sponsored my friend's softball team.
They were there a long time. Yeah, I think they had different owners and they kept the name, but the Ugly Mug, you were a quarter of the way to Buffalo, so we jumped in the car and we went to Buffalo and partied because the bars were open till 4 at that time. They may still be, I don't know, but we would go to the Playboy Club in the 747. They were open till 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, people have told me that there's only a few counties in Buffalo that are open till 4.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I don't know for sure.
I could actually, one of my friends is in a band
city.
in Buffalo, plays everywhere. I'll ask her how it goes like that.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out. You know, you meet a lot of people in this business. I think we all know that, you know, and some people you become friends with. And there were 2 ladies, I want to mention their names. They're probably going to listen to this show because they used to come and see the Boyd McCoy Band all the time. They were great big fans, and I love them for that. Of course, we all love our family and friends that come out and support us when we're playing. But I want to give a shout out to 2 good friends that I met way back in my Boyd McCoy Band days that are still good friends today, all these years later. So I want to say hi and give a shout out to Sue Brooks. Hi, Susie Q. And want to give a shout out to Gwen Grimes. Hi, Gwen. And both ladies live out of town now, but with the magic of the internet, I know they'll be listening. So they're very dear friends. Hi, ladies. I love you. Kisses, and hugs.
We've got listeners from all over the country. No, we have.
Yeah.
But one of the things, this is not, Shirley, I'm never serious on the show. Don't call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley.
But, so that's a question I've sort of asked about. Like Rob Mountain and I were talking about Journey. He's a big Journey fan, about having a new singer and new members. What really is a band in a lot of ways? Because sometimes it's like, is it like a core of members and you have other parts you keep exchanging, but you keep the whole sense of the band, or is it just the original people?
With Journey,
I don't care about Journey. I'm just talking in general.
Well, in general, I mean, let me use Journey as an example because it really has become, in my opinion on this, is it's a business with them. And Sean, what's his name? Who's the guitar player? Neil Sean is really, he's at the forefront. He started a band with Greg Rowley once they left Santana. And they had a core membership, but they've changed members so often. You need a scorecard with them.
Yeah, did they start sort of like a Fleetwood Mac where it was a totally different sound?
When they were like a prog band.
Yeah, they were a 4-piece band, really, with not so much having any vocals with the band. A 4-piece band. Then they hired a lead singer, and he didn't stay long. I don't even think he did an album vocally with them. That's when they hired Steve Perry. Their management said, if you guys want to go anywhere, really go somewhere, you need a singer. You need a singer up front.
Yeah. Now, for me, that was a signature voice.
Oh, absolutely.
It was like I saw Terry Kath in his day in live.
I did
He was
too,
another person. He was a signature, but they were a business too. But nobody could replace that man.
Well, Hendrix said he spends a lot of money and he needs money too, so he said that.
Yeah.
Well, Foreigner is a good example too.
Foreigner, yeah.
Because they become like their own tribute band.
Yeah,
more or less. I mean,
the guy does it. Sometimes I guess Mick Jones is all these guys playing. I think it was George Lynch or some guy from Tool or something. Yeah. But anyways, he didn't even play. He comes out at the end.
Yeah, well, his health was failing, so really, he just to satisfy the fans, he'd make a special appearance as long as his
he's
health
got Parkinson's.
Sadly, he's got Parkinson's, and leading up to that, you're right, he would only come out and do a couple songs at the end of the show. Now he don't show at all. But you mentioned Terry Kath, and I was fortunate enough to see Chicago in the early days at RIT. Speaking of colleges bringing in bands, and that was the original lineup with Terry Kath on guitar, and he was so good that even Hendrix admired Terry Kath. And if you listen to those early recordings, the very early albums, you'll understand why. The guy was a monster guitar player. Monster.
And it's interesting. So about a year ago, my wife and I went to New York City to see Queen. And how do you replace Mercury? But
right.
that guy does that.
This new guy, from Star Searcher. What was it? What's that?
Idol. From American
Idol.
Adam Lambert.
Adam Lambert. He's got a voice, no doubt.
I went to them because they're the last. I'm not into these new concerts with singers with 20 people dancing around them. Okay?
No, me neither.
They were fabulous. Queen. Yeah.
I think too is it Roger Taylor though. I think it's
Roger Taylor.
He just said no. Was it Deacon? One of the two retired.
Deacon is retired.
He blessed him, but he makes so much money off the royalties. It's like, Greg, we'll have holograms of us doing these shows.
That's right. And they better have my good side.
Deacon can walk by you today. I don't know if you've seen any pictures of Deacon lately. You would never recognize him, man. He does not look like he did as we grew up knowing him, recording all those Queen albums. He really does. I hate to say this, he's my age, but he looks like an old man. He really does. Sadly, to say that.
Did they do a thing, too, during Queen, that there's like one part where they stop and they acknowledge Freddie?
They do.
Yeah, see, that's what I think.
Yes.
I think Taylor or Deacon wanted them to do that to make sure they're
cool.
paying tribute. So they know.
Why not? Why not? A lot of bands do that today.
They put his picture up, and actually they have him singing one of the songs.
Yeah. Okay. So they do that virtually with the.
Yeah.
Well, how can you replace a guy like that? Like, he was, unique.
Absolutely.
They do that on the big screen.
I think you have to look at that, though, all that. I mean, even though I was joking about Foreigner, you have to sort of keep... you're going to vanish if you don't stay out there. So, these bands, they want to stay out there, so they do whatever they got to do. And the songs are all still there, so they want to keep making money off the songs. That's where the business takes over, unfortunately.
Well, it is a business, too. Everybody remembers that it's a business, and at the end of the day, a lot of musicians who just do not make money. And
if you're going there to hear
I always say this, nobody forces you to buy a ticket.
Right.
So that's, people want to come and see you.
People are still going, but my opinion on the whole thing with these somewhat tribute bands, if you've got at least one member left, original member, in my book, it's okay, because it's going to happen. There's going to be transition. But when you have a name band out there performing, getting big bucks for a ticket, and there isn't one original member, not one of these guys ever even recorded one note of the hit songs that the band originally recorded. What are you doing up there? And
it's a bit of a rip-off.
Why are you people in the audience? No, just my opinion. I'm sorry.
I agree with you. And the thing about it would be, you're going to go see so-and-so. Fill in the blank. Well, wait, there's nobody in there. Yeah, there is. That guy who played on 2 songs on the 3rd album's leading them.
And fortunately, in this era, there are so many good musicians that can learn those songs.
They can learn them, sure.
It's
not a knock on the musicians themselves. The quality is there. These guys can play, they can entertain. But they're not the guys we grew up listening to, or any of the fans out there have listened to. They're faceless.
And there's a legend. There's a thing too about the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, because they're where they are, and Plant was really sort of shaking his head at the Who after Keith Moon died for continuing, because they knew it was us, and it's not going to be. Because imagine now if it was Paul McCartney's Beatles or something.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the exceptions.
Yeah. Nostalgia sells, and people go there for the nostalgia, and they want to be reminded of, this was the song I met my wife, or this was the song I was in school, or this is sometimes they look past the whole.
I have a good idea for nostalgia. How about this for nostalgia? You go to these shows, they charge you what they charged in the 70s. I'll take that nostalgia.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
And, hey,
I would like that.
I kept all my concert tickets.
I did too.
I have the Rolling Stones, $3.
Wow.
$7.50 in
I kept all my original tickets, and they're allowed that.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like the Kingston Trio, that group that is there. I would never go see them. I saw the Kingston 4 times.
You saw the original guys
in their heyday, and they were very, very good entertainers.
And they're still out there, right?
That was this group that bought the name.
Okay.
Because they're all dead. Actually, on my wall at home, I have all of their autographs from when I was 16 years old.
Oh, that's
and then
cool.
John Stewart signed it again. We saw him just in because he did this solo gig for a while. Yeah.
Well, remember there's this big stink with the Guess Who over the founder.
Oh, yeah.
Where they couldn't even play. Which is,
Well, like Creedence. Yeah. He couldn't even play his own music.
And I'll even admit,
that's
some
crazy.
bands...
That was crazy, wasn't it?
Some bands, I think, too, like the founder is so necessary. They go around, they use the name, but they're just not the same. Especially if the founder was the singer.
I'm reading John Fogerty's books mentioning Creedence. I'm reading his book right now.
Yeah, that was good.
Did you read it?
Yep.
Yeah. And Fortunate Son?
Yeah.
It started out nice and easy. We're talking about growing up in the family and the house and the neighborhood and the brothers and the mom and the dad.
Right.
And then you get into the early bands with Tom, his brother, and you get into the Gollywogs, which was the next stepping stone, which was the band before Creedence that evolved into Creedence. And it was all nicey, and now Creedence is hitting all the right, they're running on 8 cylinders, but guess what?
Right.
It's turning ugly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have never read a book where this guy is knocking everything that those guys did or didn't do. I mean, he turned on them nasty. I almost want to put the book down now.
Can you imagine, too, you write a song, you get sued because you plagiarized your own song.
Yeah, that was a crazy. That's a little
down the road and run through the jungle. Yeah.
That's a little bit later in the book. I didn't get to that part yet.
It's terrible because I've grown up. We've all had friends we had really good times with, and you had fallings out.
Yeah.
And it's sad thinking now how you don't get along. You try to look at those days, and you think these groups, they had a bond growing up.
Yeah.
Then all
and they grew apart.
And they just grew apart. They don't remember how there was a time they were really close or friends.
Yeah. I mean, they cut their teeth. They all had the unity in the early days. They had the one common goal to become musicians and to become recording stars.
They said about Kiss even.
Yeah.
They said early days they were all together because they all wanted to make it. But then the two sort of, at least say, have certain problems.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Tom Fogerty, John's brother, was in the band. He was the other guitar player, and eventually Tom turned on John and stuck with the other two guys, the drummer and the bass player, and it was 3 against 1.
Well, the Skinners would brawl.
Yeah.
And the Kinks, the two brothers, they would fight on stage.
There's the classic one. One of them threw I think Mick Andrews, somebody threw bonked one of them in the head. Or they get in the fights on stage. That's why I think Dylan wanted to be a little richer, but he's like, I can't work with people. What's he going to, I could see him the way Bob is getting into a fight with himself on stage.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit before we have to sign off because we're probably getting late into the show here. Tell us a little bit about
there is no time.
There's no time frame?
Okay.
We'll be here for 2 hours. We
got stuff.
So tell us a little bit about the new band, Paul.
The Birds tribute?
The Birds tribute, yeah.
I've always wanted to do a Birds tribute band.
Okay.
Again, I'm really mired in the 60s music. I just love it. I want, that, or I wanted to do an Animals Manford Man band.
Love the Animals, man. Love them.
I have a 1965 Box Continental organ. That
I think we should do an
Give
Animals
me
tribute.
One favor I ask: if you do a Manford Man, is you just play Pretty Flamingo. I know it's Gene Pickney, but I love that's like Manford. And who are you going to get to do Eric Bird and
I know it. Yeah.
Greg?
Yeah. But again, the Birds have always been, even when I was in high school, I always wanted to put it together. And again, just over the last year, trying to recruit people that. They wanted to do it, but they just fizzled out.
I wish I would have known myself, but you got a good man in the drum seat right now.
I think it suits you too the way you've been talking because it's folk, but it's rock.
Yes,
exactly. It's like a combo plus country. You do Sweet Under the Rodeo and stuff like that too.
No, we doing the first 4 albums, the original kind of Bird stuff. Yeah, and I always had that knack for playing the 12-string guitar.
About what was David Crosby when he did Mind Gardens? I listen to that. Go, this guy is got something.
Yeah. Well, you got a good man in the drum seat right now, Dana Gregory.
Dana's the best.
Yeah. And actually, Dana, they did the Sweetheart of the Rodeo tribute.
Oh, they did it.
They did.
88.
He's the one who did that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to play the banjo parts on Pretty Boy Floyd with that, but it kind of fizzled out.
Well, the Byrds were very influential.
Yeah, and anybody too, it's one of those, again, ironic songs, So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star, is mocking the business and how horrible it is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, look how they influenced.
What I say.
That's what we opened with last night, Rock and Roll Star, and we ended with 8 Miles High. Yeah, our guitar
that was
player
interesting,
really
man. That was interesting hearing 8 Miles High. That was really good, man.
Because they were good jam songs.
Yeah.
You need people who can sort of sing background too now.
You put a lot of asses in the seats last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, the place was packed. Wow.
Where was that? I'm sorry, I forgot.
It was the old Ellison's on Main and Whitney Road.
City Park.
Oh, yeah.
Ellison's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sitting there, I'm having a beer, and I'm sitting on a bar stool, and I'm listening to the band, of course, and I finish my beer, and I'm looking for a place to set the beer. So I'm looking to my left, no place to put it. The bottle's empty. I'm looking to my right, no. I get up out of my seat. I look over towards the bar. It's too deep at the bar. I go, there's nowhere to put the beer bottle, empty beer bottle. So I look down at the floor. I go, I just put it over here on the floor next to the wall. I set the beer bottle down, and there's this round little thing right next to the beer bottle. It was a wedding ring.
Wow.
So backing up a little bit, I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse. There was a guy standing next to me near the pool table who had his phone out with the flashlight, and he was all over the floor earlier, scanning the floor, looking for whatever it was he was looking for. It turned out to be that wedding ring.
Oh,
Had I not put my beer bottle down where I put it, and it just happened to be right next to that wedding ring. This guy, and I knew, I was hoping once I found it that he was still in the bar, because I didn't know if he had left or not. They were a little bit behind me. So I turned to look, and I've got it in my hand. Man, he come running over to me, man. He gave me a bear hug. He was so happy. I found his.
I love you, but I won't marry you.
He's one of our relatives. He was very, very.
Oh
grateful.
my God!
Very,
you talk
very
about. I know it was just one of those freaky things that I was so lucky and happy I found it.
And then people in the audience are looking. You got they're like, "What a happy couple!"
So there is a drunk God.
Okay, there is a drunk God.
No, I guarantee if you put a wedding ring here and a beer here and a guy to choose one, which one would they choose more of?
So if I send you a video of Rock and Roll Star, can you put it on?
Well, we don't do videos. We can do the vocals, which we do.
Okay. Well, can you isolate the vocals from it, or no?
We'll ask Andy.
Okay.
Yeah, then anybody wants to see what you look like, because we always say if this was filmed and they saw us two, they probably call the mental hospital. So it's better we sort of anonymous.
So I was gonna ask you this. That's a good introduction. So I gotta ask.
Okay.
Here we go.
Does Tom Borelli move any more on stage than he did before?
Well,
that guy is a statue when he plays.
I really am glad that guy joined us. I really like.
He's great. No, he's a great musician. I'm just
in
saying.
The last 3 weeks, he's had terrible back pain and shoulder pain.
Yeah.
He's got something going on. He's trying to figure out.
Really?
He almost left us. He almost said he couldn't do it.
He told me he needs rotator cuff surgery.
Okay.
I talked to him last night. He goes, "My shoulder's killing me, man." He goes, "It really hurts."
I didn't
at
know
least, I hate to say it this way, but at least, you could go back years. It's at least, it all sucks, but they've got so much more these days to do stuff like that.
Yeah. But I played with him in a blues band back in the 90s, the Lowriders.
Okay.
With Mike, I forget his name, Mike somebody or other.
Yeah.
And he was just so he plays great and he's talented as all hell. But man, the guy just never moved. And his expression never changes, and it's just pretty funny.
Well, it didn't hurt Bill Wyman ever, did it? Or John Entwistle?
Well, maybe it's a bass player thing. I mean, I get it. But
well,
it's just
our guitar player in Jasper refused to come up front. He stood all the way in the back next to he was so shy.
Wow.
But he was one of those jazz-trained guitar players.
You have to use the euphemisms. He wasn't shy. He was mysterious.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Wow.
No, but this has been a trip. As you notice, we do some history. We talk about we talk about We haven't talked about like how to make a good tuna casserole for Christmas yet. We'll say
I
that
just got that recipe.
From growing up, I'll never eat tuna casserole again.
Oh, no?
I won't eat Jell-O or boiled hot dogs from high school again either.
Well, I was like when I was in my most broke phase and I couldn't get home, so I remember Thanksgiving a fruit roll-ups and steak comes in my little apartment, and you know you get food you had to eat then. So if I see peanut butter or tuna fish, I will just dollar store burritos. You could never get that out of my heart, but. You know, we used to go to Safeway because I lived in Alexandria, but it's like you're that pathetic, and you see these foods, and it's like the old W.C. Fields story about dogs, where he loved dogs, but he used to say, why don't you like dogs? They could smell the gutter on you.
Yeah.
My mother used to broil pork chops, and it was never one of my favorites anyway.
Before this turns into a food show and we do part 2, what's coming up for everybody, and we'll play the Rock and Roll Star song. Now, I'll say, with the little asterisk thing, we'll play the Rock and Roll songs. If we can't, we'll play a different one.
Okay. Go ahead, Greg. We'll go down the line.
Okay. Well, like I said, I got the whiskey brunch at the Cub Room on the 15th from like 11 to 3 or so. That's a Tommy Brunette production when everybody just comes in and plays Christmas songs. And I got a gig with Cupid's Boomerang at, I believe, Love and Cup on the 22nd.
Is Peyton playing with that one?
That's about it. Huh?
Is John Payton playing on that one, too? It's like a double bill with them, maybe?
No, I think it's Girls Rock. It's a
Girls Rock thing,
different band, yeah. So that's about it for me.
Yeah,
wow, that's a low schedule for you.
It is. Well,
I always tell Greg, just tell us who you're not playing with. It's a lot easier.
I'm coming off a busy week, so yeah, that's kind of good.
Go ahead, Paul.
We have Adeline's on the 20th.
Adeline's for happy hour, right?
Just hoping Tommy is he can get his back, and that's why he sat last night. Get his back, and that's why actually the bass player from our old Jasper came up from North Carolina just for backup.
Is he going to be here on the 20th just in case?
No, it's all on Tommy, and we're hoping. Tommy's good. He just wants to do a little bit more variety than just birds. Yeah, and we're second set will be that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've got. Right now, I don't have too much on the books. I'm planning my next summer at the gazebo in Arundecoit, the Stevie T's All-Star Band, and I've approached two very illustrious. I don't want to name names just yet because it's in the talking stages. But I'm looking forward to doing my next segment of Stevie T's All-Stars in Arundecoit, and within the last 24 hours, one of those doors, those proverbial, one door closes, another door opens. Well, that's happening right now for me. I'm really excited about it. And again, I don't want to say too much about it because it's just in the talking stages right now. But this is going to be big. If this thing goes through, like I'm like a little kid heading towards the candy counter right now, and I'm really excited about it. And maybe on the next segment of the show, we'll talk a little bit more about.
I always, because Taylor Swift and I have the same birthday. She mentioned your name.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I'm going to see the Gingerbread House sometime, and actually going to see John Adams, and we're going to Stevie T's.
Yeah.
So there.
Not my house.
Otherwise, I prefer to be a mystery. So thanks for tuning in. Our schedule is all over the place this holiday season. Santa needs Greg. So Santa needs Greg. So we'll see. We'll tell you on our page when we're on.
But I did go see Red One at the movies last week. It's a really good movie. Really good movie.
Okay, Mike Augustinelli said the same thing. But may your Santa movies or anything else bless you, and we'll see you next time. And thanks for being on it.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jingle.
Paul, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're not going to.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we go, we're going to sign off with a song by the Boyd McCoy Band. Let's party!
Let's party! Let's have some and have fun. Let's party! It's fine with some gone. Oh yeah. Let's go down to the beach. Bring sister, brother, Billy Joe too. Just you and I. Yeah, come on. You know it just takes two to party, baby. Woo! Let's party. Let's have some and have fun. Let's party. It's fine with some gone. Oh yeah, baby. Woo! Let's go down to the party. Bring sister, brother, mom, and dad. Just you and I. Yeah, come on. You know it just takes two to party, baby. Woo! Let's party. Let's party. Yeah, come on. Woo! Hey, baby. Hey, you over there. Come on over here. Let's party. Put your hands together. Let's party. You know you look so fine in that nice little baby suit. I'm gonna stop it right to you. Gonna show you how to do it. It's the summertime, baby. Oh, you're looking so good. I just wanna make you mine.